There are, as you know, 6 Sundays during Lent. And while the Gospel each Sunday is quite different, together they form a complete story. So if we can follow these, let's call them episodes, these weekly episodes, it can become a sort of Lenten box set, which then culminates on the 7th Sunday, on Easter Sunday. So last Sunday, in episode 1, shall we call it, we heard about temptations. Jesus tempted to sell himself short and take the easy way to face the awfulness of evil. So today, with the transfiguration of Jesus, we go a stage further and dare to dream of sharing in divine glory, not just of survival. So what might we learn about our own journey as we glimpse something of who Jesus is? So firstly, we all need a dream to keep us going. If we haven't got a dream, the scriptures tell us we perish. People, as you know, can die for want of a reason for living. So in this gospel passage, Jesus has told the disciples he'll be crucified and die. And as in the first reading about Abraham sacrificing his only son Isaac, the possibility of Calvary seems quite preposterous. So to give the apostles courage to face these impossible events of Holy Week, 3 of them have a glimpse of Jesus' glory. But even after the event, we hear Peter, James and John still don't understand what this crazy story is all about. Yes, the experience was very real, but the incredible meaning would only gradually become clear. So as for Peter, James and John and Abraham, to many of our contemporaries, the gospel message is very hard to take seriously. It just goes beyond our parameters. And that's not just a modern problem. Even St. Paul found that the message of the cross was incomprehensible to both Jews and Greeks. But like falling in love, faith in Jesus is not some sort of merely intellectual conviction. Our human relationships need memories to build them up. Unless our hearts are nourished by prayerful encounters and experiences, faith in Jesus' incredible message will wither. As with human relationships, faith in Jesus involves our hearts even more than just our heads or an occasional few minutes on our knees. If it's just that, it'll be drowned out by the noise that comes at us from all sides. So the transfiguration is Jesus' call to make space for the divine dream. Secondly, as we know, as Jesus goes through his life, as Jesus does throughout his life, this strange event breaks into the limited horizons, the limited world of the apostles' expectations. Their assumptions about a Messiah, their limited hopes are burst open, and they struggle to cope with this new way of looking at everything. Faith in Jesus does this in every generation, which is why faith is so often resisted. For example, Pope Francis talks a lot about something that afflicts us today, the virus of indifference that actually makes faith difficult to grasp. He calls today on Christians to be a sign of contradiction to the individualism and self-obsession and lack of solidarity that so dominate our wealthier societies. A good example of that, it seems to me, in a world of war and starvation is the fact that the theft of some singer's dogs 10,000 miles away was seen to be worth reporting around the world for days on end. Deep down, our insecure culture wants to distract us from facing real issues because we have no answer. They offer no answer. To distract us from daring to dream. This globalization of superficiality arises when we're swamped with information but are unable to digest it or make sense of it. So we're seduced into seeking refuge and distraction in what is titillating. Jesus wants to break this obsession of ours with seeking security in the irrelevant and the apparently controllable. The real challenge for people of faith is to live authentic lives so that we can free ourselves from this prison of an escapist imagination and help our contemporaries dare to believe in the divine imagination about a transfigured world. When we allow ourselves to be concerned about a pampered singer's dogs in California, It's we who have become muzzled and led by the leash. Jesus has come to burst into that deadly, oppressive obsession. And finally, thirdly, Jesus' body is transfigured. That, of course, points to the glory of the resurrection, in which we're all invited to share through Jesus. But he took on our flesh so that we might share his heavenly glory. That's the divine dream that God wants to share with us here and now on the earth. Our bodies aren't just toys to be played with, or lumps of meat to be displayed and played with for all comers. Our bodies are holy and destined for glory. Intimacy is sacred. Whatever cheapens our dignity damages our self-respect. A culture that measures value by the external promotes superficial and temporary relationships. But healing love needs long-term trust, not one-night stands. Children need stability in the adults around them. A culture that encourages adolescent self-pitying me damages adults and their dependents, and it crushes the idealism out of children. Lust without love poisons our hunger for meaning. Christ's values are meant to liberate us from that prison of our own making, and from those who benefit by exploiting our temptation to be satisfied with the banal. So, this entire Lenten journey is an invitation to tackle the habits that smother our ability to dream of love and mercy. In this second Lent in lockdowns, Jesus encourages us to believe in him and to believe that we will experience resurrection with him. So making time for prayer is dangerous, because by praying you're daring to make space for glimpses of transfiguration in your own life and relationships. Fasting is dangerous because you dare to say that you're more than what you're told you should be consuming. And fasting is also a protest against the injustice of the market that wastes so much while millions starve. Solidarity moves us beyond self-obsessed concern with specific personal freedoms, whether in secular life or in church. It works against the fundamentalism which insists that God's truth is limited to suit my Pharisaic hunger for certainty. Certainty wasn't what the apostles felt after the transfiguration, or Abraham felt after the encounter. Almsgiving pushes me to believe I should fight for the rights of others before growing indignant and angry about my own little hang-ups. Faith broadens our horizons, it doesn't limit them. God didn't spare his own son, but gave him up to benefit us all, Paul says. He invites followers to be prepared to be self-giving and generous. Without that transfiguration dream, there isn't even a hunger for resurrection. So during this coming week, can I invite you to stay with those words from today's gospel? This is my Son, the beloved. Listen to him. Stay with those words in prayer, in scriptures, in adoration. For there and there alone will we find healing. There and there alone are we guaranteed wholeness. In that mercy and love alone is there transfiguration. And there we find the strength to journey on in trust and hope.